So municipalities are not paying the bill, therefore taxpayers are not paying the bill
of
that service.
The
Correct.
service of recycling.
Trash. Well, no, it's still paying for the trash, but the recycling has come off of the bill.
Okay.
So
I, as a homeowner in your area, no longer have a recycling bill.
Well, we never had one anyway. But anyway, it was just in our taxes. It was baked in. It wasn't a separate line item.
I don't want to pay for that service. So this recycling container is now being paid for by multinational thing that produces plastic bottles.
Yeah, by the pros, and the pros are now represented through an organization called Circular Materials, and Circular Materials is responsible for the circular materials. So they're the responsible entity for the collection of these materials across the province.
Welcome back to the Waste Nexus podcast. This is a unique episode because I threw Charlie out. No, he was busy. And I said, okay, I'm not going to pull him away from what he was doing. And today we have our friend Gerald Grant here of Innovate Waste Solutions. And yes, I had to look down to read that so I get it right. Gerald is Canadian, but we allowed him in specially just for this. I have his work visa here sealed in this envelope just for this occasion.
Border's tight these days.
We're starting right off the bat. We're just going right at it. So, Gerald, want to introduce yourself in your mind, of what you want to cover or what you want people to know about you?
Waste generalist, but with some specific background in the audit side of things. Bit of a behaviorist, I guess that helps. Getting my hands dirty on the audit side, not just the paperwork and invoice audit, but site audits. Actual material audits. I've been in waste audits for about 15, 20 years, on top of a 30-year background working in the corporate space, the small hauler space. So I've done a little bit of everything in the world of garbage. Been a sales manager, district sales manager for the big players for a couple of years.
You started out first at WM?
No, I've started out for a small hauler that the facilities eventually were actually bought by WM. I ended up having this full circle moment back in 2001. But I worked for this small hauler in Brampton, which was terrible. But it was experience, and what they say, experience is what you get when you didn't get what you wanted, right?
Right.
So so did that, and then eventually BFI was actually my first corporate gig. Browning Ferris, the old Browning Ferris. Down in Windsor for a couple of years, and then transferred back to Toronto with BFI until their Canadian assets were bought by Waste Management. I was a Canadian asset, so I went over to Waste Management, was there for 5 years, built my career up doing sales management stuff, and then had a parting of the ways, 2005, ended up with BFI Canada at that time that was transitioning into Progressive, I think, in that timeline. So I was a sales manager there for a couple of years, and then went off on my own and started my firm called Spinnaker Recycling.
Okay.
Focusing, and this is another area of expertise in multi-res, because in Toronto there was
American multifamily
buildings. Because in Toronto, the city of Toronto had put through a waste levy. So all of a sudden, what had been a no-cost line item for all these operators was a user pay model.
It was a city-provided service.
That's correct.
Previously, free for all.
Free for all.
Anything you want.
That's it. Yeah.
We have that in Pittsburgh, and it's an interesting little wrinkle. If you are a 5-unit or less multifamily, apartment, you get city service.
Right.
And in 2026? So in the 15 years I've been involved in this, I've run into probably once a year, come across somehow, just either my own study or just whatever, someone calls me for advice, a building a year that calls and says, hey, we have 25 units and the city serviced us and we got told we need to have service privately. Can you help us figure that out? And I just give them a couple of vendors to call and let them figure it out, is what I do recently. But it is comical how those things used to be run, that it was just, we'll pick it up. Yep. Sure. All right. And then those things just carry on forever until someone one day goes, wait a minute, why are we doing that?
Yeah. Well, and it was interesting because the raison d'etre. Like, here's this city, biggest city in Canada, wanting to make a real impact on waste diversion.
Yep.
So how do we do this? Well, I mean, they didn't just step into it. They jumped into it fully with this very, very high cost, in waste terms, high cost introduction of a waste tax. Recycling's free, organics free, bulk free, everything else is free, but the waste piece of it is where the expense lies. And so all of a sudden, there's all these operators saying, what are we going to do? So I happen to know the president of the apartment association who said, I need help with garbage. Can you help me?
Let me figure this out.
All of a sudden, I'm a multi-res guy.
Good.
So there we go.
Knowledge and stand at the right place sometimes.
Right place, right time. So that's fun.
More importantly, you said you get your hands dirty a little bit. I read somewhere that you were once a disc jockey.
Yes.
So
I was a DJ.
getting your hands dirty.
Yes.
Tell us about that experience.
I had in high school days, I had a fascination with what would have been called new wave, alt rock music and things like that. And our school had a cafeteria, and we had lunchtime DJs.
Nice.
And so I started off doing lunchtime DJ at the high school, which turned into DJ a few dances, which turned into, there was all these various organizations that wanted us to start DJing parties, and went on to start a company called Pump Up the Volume.
Pump up the volume, pump up the jam.
My old buddy Mike Lucas and I built a light show, and we bought all
What
this
era is
equipment.
this?
This is 85 until 95.
85. So crossed over to your professional
Yeah, I kept doing it.
world stuff. You still did that.
Kept doing the DJing until 95.
Nice.
Yeah.
What had you give it up?
Time and distance. Working in Windsor.
To go.
Yeah, working in Windsor was too far to come back to Toronto and do stuff.
That's so great.
But it was fun. A lot of fun.
Do you still retain any of the equipment from that era?
No, I need to rebuild.
You need to rebuild.
I need to rebuild.
Do your kids ever ask you to do the work of DJing for them?
I know what they do is ask me for a list of bands, albums, tracks
From the old days.
from the old days that they can, learn about, which I respect.
That's fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
My kids do that too. They say, Dad, back in the old days, guys, I'm 43. Let's not
Yeah.
like there was black and white television when I started out.
I was all black and white television when I started out.
Maybe I teed that one up.
But it was DJing was a great period, a lot of fun.
All right, back to real work. So So one of the interesting things that you and I have talked about over the years is, and I pay attention to in how you speak, given your experience of being on the sales side, given your experience of being inside the actual waste hauling machine, and then moving over to the multi-res, there's an element of designing with the end user in mind that you bring to the table that I don't know that is I think it's out there. I think people have it, but that is one of the critical things I think that is tricky to implement at scale.
It is.
Right?
It's really hard to.
Because the built world exists, right? And so this building's different than that building. There's an alleyway, and there's a code, and there's and all these things. And ultimately, someone has to stand there and go, how will this work for someone to go from their apartment or their office or whatever down to wherever to drop off whatever in the right method for this particular location and set of regulations here.
Yeah.
That's basically the current world you're operating in, right? Is that accurate?
Yeah, it's very accurate, and it needs to be almost like from a waste point of view, and nobody in the design development space, not nobody. Sorry, there are a few people starting to pay attention to these things, but waste design is integral to building operations, right? Like it's ubiquitous. Every unit, like it's one of those things that from a touch point of view, it's up there with electrical switches and water taps. Like how many touches are there on materials over the course of somebody's day? And nobody looks at it through that lens. We've got all the conveniences and efficiencies for water systems and for electrical and everything else. We don't look at waste in the same way. So you look at it from a multifamily, that unit, is there space allocated for the proper management of waste? And, be it under counter or be it, I've talked about the milk, the old milk door idea, right? For setting those sort of things up in a multi-res environment. Like nobody's ever put a lot of effort into that. And so you're driving, the behavior has to be done properly in the suite based on that person's, ability to manage a system.
Yep.
You're not applying it yourself.
And which you can assume is less than ideal.
Less than ideal. And so that just trickles down to being a terrible diversion rate for most places because it doesn't start at the beginning.
There's a guy online that I get to an argument every now and then in my own head. I don't know if I've ever answered him, but he'll say you should put the recycling bin first. And I always say, no, you should put the trash bin first because...
Correct. It's the catch-all.
The trash will go, right? And let the person who doesn't understand the rules or is dead lazy, whatever the thing is, drunk.
Absolutely.
Right.
Make the mistake.
Let them throw something in the trash. You got to make it easy for them.
Yep.
The person who wants to go the extra 2 steps, literally 1, 2, to put the right thing in the right place, do the right thing. Great.
Yeah. So one developer of this one, it was actually a student residence building.
They're never drunk.
And they're never drunk. I walked into the student intake room and they actually did 3 chutes. Like I'm overly impressed. They did 3 separate chutes. It's only a 4-story building, so it's not that expensive to do it. But they put recycling first, and then garbage, and then organics. I'm like just a simple error. And I wonder why you keep getting contamination charges on their recycling because you invited it. That's exactly what's going to happen.
Interesting piece. Have you run into this in your markets where chutes are sort of going away in favor of the doorstep type of valet services?
We don't see that in Canada.
Not at all.
No.
Really?
No.
Is it because labor's expensive? Or?
Labor's expensive, and we don't have the same building types, right? Because there's a lot of walk-ups.
Yeah.
Right. And that's how a lot of buildings are designed in the States, especially, further south where it's warmer. So you got a lot of breezeway walk-up type stuff, and that makes for that.
Is it cold in Canada?
Sometimes. It can be at times. You never know. Anyway, so yeah, it's still chute oriented, but what we're seeing is a few of the folks that are better understanding the fully loaded costs. Right? There's the opportunity costs for taking up the space, right? So it's space you can't sell or rent.
Nah.
There's the construction cost. There's the maintenance cost. There's the chute cleaning. There's the odor management. There's the running electrical. There's blah blah blah. Everything that goes along with it for the life of the building. And that's that kind of assumption is 100-year-old. You want 100 years out of this building.
Right. Even if you run on a 30-year schedule, it's still a meaningful number.
It's a meaningful number. So there is a bit of a movement for some of these folks to go to what I like to call a waste lounge or diversion lounge. Okay. So you walk in and it's a well-appointed space. It's like this room. It's nicely decorated, well painted, good signage. Odor management is all in one place. You've got all this, and so it's driving behavior. It's funneling behavior into one spot versus the alternative, which is chute intake room on every floor, which is in.
So is that room on the ground floor?
Yeah, it's on the ground floor.
So the tenant brings their material to the ground floor. So it's a hybrid in a way where we're still bringing the stuff down through a human. We're eliminating the chute to eliminate that cost, overhead, all those things. But now we've shifted that into a larger square footage on the ground floor. That's interesting because the ground floor space, in my experience of being involved in design, is very highly fought over by the amenity set, right?
Agreed.
We're doing a dog wash, we're doing a bike room, what is going on in this space that matters to our tenant that we can monetize, amenitize, get more higher rent?
But I'm seeing a lot more sort of mezzanine, 5th floor amenity spaces, right? So if you can push that up the building envelope, then you've got more room to do these things.
Have you seen ground floor retail? A lot of cities say you got to have ground floor retail, and they also empty for years. Are you seeing this as an opportunity to sort of replace that?
You could, I suppose. I think the ground floor retail in most of the places that I deal is good. There become amenities, etc. But it's still something else that you have to.
Spaces that they can actually be at work.
But you still have to plan around it, and that's the other piece is that okay, now we're not only just planning the residential waste platform, we have to now plan the commercial waste platform,
Who's going in?
and you don't know who's going in there. Oh, we might have a restaurant.
Well, this was one time the guy goes, "We're talking to Starbucks." I said, "Okay,
Yeah.
Well, Starbucks has a set of rules that they want to follow, and they're going to produce a lot of volume." What else are you talking to? Oh, we're also talking to a dog groomer. Okay, well, those are two entirely different use cases. And what else? We may think about a restaurant. Okay,
Yeah.
so you have no idea.
That's it, and those can turn. So planning for it is really challenging. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. But at least to simplify, and the piece of this, whether commercial or residential, doesn't really matter, is end user engagement. Like if you've only got, instead of a 30-story building with now you've got 30 engagement points.
Yep.
And let's just say you only have one chute, so with a tri-sorter, which is, I'm sorry, in my opinion, terrible.
Tough equipment. Yeah.
Tough equipment to manage. That you've got 30 points of engagement to manage if you could actually engage people.
Yeah.
Right.
30 points of failure.
So it was versus one. And all of a sudden you're funneling behavior. All of a sudden you can not only funnel behavior, but you can engage that much more readily in that space.
Ask that space at all. How do you?
We don't have to. This is more your world, man. Like we get into QR code stuff that you can start talking to, communicating with people about their behaviors and incenting. I don't want to say punishing, but incenting around how they engage with the system. Right? Are we going to start? Let's just say you got a deposit return bottle bill environment. Is there somewhere for people to engage with that kind of behavior? Ontario, there's get it and be able to and want to be involved because there's actually a monetary gain.
Yeah, right.
So those are the sort of things that I, when I'm talking with a developer or architect about these things,
you've implemented this so far?
No, because it's not there, but you need to plan for it.
Newly built, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, newly built. So
make sure you've got a little bit of extra space for your waste management platform so you can do things.
That is one of my sort of burrs in my saddle over time is people come in to the world and say, well, we're going to do this thing this way. And then you go, okay, well, what about all the stuff we've built for 100 years that's already operating this way? What are we going to do with that? Oh, well, that's got to change. Okay, well, who's going to pay for that?
Right.
Which could bring us to a topic that I think is interesting to hear about because I'm not as close to this as you are, because I think you live there. But isn't Toronto going through an EPR, extended EPR implementation?
Right across the province.
Whole
yeah, all of the single family and now multi-res is being managed. The recycling stream, the Blue Box program, for anybody residential is now going through a third party. It used to be 50% managed between the producers and the municipalities, where the producers had to pay half the bill. Now the producers are paying the whole bill, but with their own infrastructure from collection through processing through distribution.
For the let's say I'm the uninitiated, which if you know me, maybe you could say is true. But walk us through just from the basics of what is the EPR, extended EPR. What does that mean?
So municipalities are not paying the bill, therefore taxpayers are not paying the bill of that service.
The
Correct.
Service of recycling.
Trash. Well, no, it's still paying for the trash, but the recycling has come off of the bill.
Okay.
So
I, as a homeowner in your area, no longer have a recycling bill.
Well, we never had one anyway. But anyway, it was just in our taxes. It was baked in. It wasn't a separate line item.
Saying, I don't want to pay for that service. So this recycling container is now being paid for by multinational thing that produces plastic bottles.
Yeah, by the pros, and the pros are now represented through an organization called Circular Materials, and Circular Materials is responsible for the circular materials. So they're the responsible entity for the collection of these materials across the province.
Okay, and that's a pseudo-private organization, but really relies on the fact that it has a government fiat to exist.
Yeah,
right.
True enough.
Right. So so that exists, though, and that's going to pick up the service element of recycling materials.
And processing and selling.
Yeah, and process.
Yep.
Okay, that whole operation on the back end.
Yes.
When does it go live?
Oh, it is.
So it is live.
Yeah, it's going.
Okay.
It's going. And then, I mean, overall, it hasn't affected me personally. There have been some areas which have been affected more than others. We're going through some changes. You know, where in the past, if you had a 96-gallon roll cart for your recycling and you're a family of 5 like mine, you know, I can overflow that in a 2-week cycle, right? And, on a regular basis. So you
have all the kids.
Exactly. So the reality of being able to bag that material in the past as your overage, you know, you don't, capacity is a big thing, you know, my 5 C's.
Yep.
Now you have to get a second tote. Well, I don't really want to have a second tote because I don't need it all the time.
Right.
So now I've got 4 totes, and these are big, like they take up a big footprint. So that's a change which a lot of people are not happy with.
And they don't want it loose.
Because it's containerized, so they don't want to put bodies on collection.
Right. And they don't want it bagged because that creates a problem downstream.
Right.
Which is all reasonable.
It's all reasonable.
But this goes back to my point of, okay,
Yeah.
this is the goal.
Right.
The built world exists.
Yeah.
How do these two things work together?
Right.
So
right.
in that context, how have they defined success in this space? Is there we want to go from 50% to 55%, or what's?
It's difficult to answer the question right now because it's muddied by some requests that I believe have been fulfilled now, that if we cannot get to those points, we want to be able to use things like EFW as an alternative while we get better at it.
EFW being
energy from waste. So we can take the offs of the Blue Box program and have them go through some sort of
energy
process.
from waste is an interesting thing because, as I understand the world, in certain parts of Europe, Japan, love it. They're like, yeah, well, this is what we do.
Yeah.
Right. Other parts of the world, U.S. especially, I don't know what Canada's like entirely, but we're like, this sounds like a terrible idea. We're not sure. Maybe, wait, it's a great idea. No, what? And we can't seem to make up our minds over here.
Yeah, it's very where they've hybridized the systems, right? Like I look at Copenhagen, my gorgeous city, where they've built a year-round ski hill.
Yeah, they have a ski hill.
Yeah. On the trash. That's the best example, right? Where you've got a multi-purpose usage of a space that is actually an incinerator.
Has another purpose.
But they also have fully engaged waste diversion. So it is truly residual that's going there because they've got incredibly well engaged.
But even if it's not residual, the thing that I find interesting is that there are people who say, well, that stuff's bad. You just have that's bad. Like one of my favorite questions to ask somebody, don't give this away if you don't tell the world this. But if I'm at a cocktail party and someone's like, oh, you're in trash, depending on, whether I've had a wobble pop or not, I'll ask them a question of, well, do you think that landfills are bad? And if so, why? Right? Because a lot of people have an opinion about whether something's good or bad, but they don't have the information as to why.
Right.
Right? I look at landfills as future mines.
Sure.
Agreed. It's a big plastic tub that's a future mine. Right?
Yeah.
And I look at the waste to energy type of environment as, okay, this is a productive use of an unproductive item.
Yeah.
Now, the thing I get back a lot of times is, okay, well, what about the emissions? I say, okay, that sounds all solvable to me. I don't know all the science.
Right.
But that sounds solvable to me. Right? Because I live in Pittsburgh, where my grandfather used to change his shirt at lunch because the white shirt would turn dark gray by lunch. And he was working in an office building.
All right, then.
Okay? That's how sooty and gross.
Right.
So I think that I have the context of how bad things once work.
Yeah.
Right? And how they really are much cleaner now.
Yeah.
And if I go, these things all sound solvable. And to my point to you when we had breakfast this morning, what's our end goal here?
Yeah.
What are we trying to accomplish and how do we measure that? And so the EPR thing's very interesting because I think there's validity to the direction it's aiming for. Hey, what do we do with this stuff? And who's responsible for it? Right? Okay. How do you measure success?
Yeah. and I'll tangent a little bit. I mean, anybody that follows me on LinkedIn, I'm always on the circularity piece, and driven predominantly, across a very, very a broadening swath of Western nations is bottle bill EPR, that's tied to a DRS, a deposit return system,
which have been shown to be, to my knowledge, actual programs that generate items that come back to where you want them to go.
That it's
You're putting a financial incentive input.
Absolutely, and it's the whole problem with the
just have to keep the Nevadans out of California with the trucks. Right? I've read those stories.
Because it's in one place and not the other. So you can be fraudulent by going across the border. I know. I didn't do it, but I know, having lived on the Michigan-Ohio border for a couple of years.
Michigan, Ohio does it.
Yeah, how easy it was for people. Anyway, so why isn't it universal? It doesn't make sense that this is something that's at the state level or the province level. This is something that needs to be holistic. It needs to be across the country or across North America or whatever. Global. I don't know why we have this, factioning of different systems. It makes no sense to me. These things need to be holistic. So I get into that engagement piece because we're focusing on the producer. We're not focusing on the user. We've given the user a blue box. Okay, super. But we're not incenting them to use the blue box.
Well, to them, it's the same blue box they had the day of the program.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's nothing really different.
So we need to, and I'm trying to think where it was. I was just reading up on somewhere where that the reuse piece that is just not there in any kind of disposal or blue box program, right? That the reuse piece doesn't exist. But as soon as you go deposit return, then you can support a reuse model as well. True circularity, glass bottles all of a sudden there's a reason for reusing glass bottles again, like we did when I was a kid. I'm sorry. Why aren't we heading back in that? Sometimes the old is good.
Yeah. Sometimes the new's better.
Yeah. And so that's right. So
I don't actually want all my my soda to be out of glass bottles. I don't want all my soda to be out of plastic bottles. There are times and places I want one or the other, right?
Yeah.
I think the thing that I find most interesting is, I call it the 0-1 mentality. My people do this sometimes. We're like, well, this can never be. You said the word never. I don't buy that.
Yeah.
That there are. I'm very much a free market type of person. That way, I go, let's come up with ways in which there's zeros, there's ones, and there's options in between.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so, to your point about, okay, the blue box is the same. Well, what changed that signals to that person that there's some value to this thing? Right? How do you come up with a way that puts the value to them?
Well, especially when it wasn't on our tax bill as a line item.
Yeah, there's no difference.
Did it disappear? Like, our taxes haven't gone down, by the way.
Hey, to me, in today's era, it's very simple to say, okay, if you take a picture of every thing you put in the thing, and then we validate it with something that goes in the truck, okay, now we can give you back $1. You know how much people will go through hoops of hoops,
right,
at $1, right? Just for fun of it, make it a game, right? You make it a thing. Okay, I'm competing, I'm winning, and there's all kinds of that out there, and we don't put that into this.
And go back to the multifamily, right? Go back to multifamily. There is a space which has being so difficult to engage because there is nothing to motivate people to do things. If they
I'm one of 300 users, this is not my house.
Right. That's for the landlord to manage or the property manager. Yeah. All of a sudden it's a thing. It's a thing. It's got to be a thing.
Behavior change is very hard.
And having, let's say, sorted thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of items. I'll give you this one. When you get into unit count stuff, which we've done for a good number of audits now, you get into unit count stuff, and when you can tell an entity 3 million containers, right? When that's the extrapolated number from the sample, it's 3 million containers a year,
right? Or in your waste
stream. Then you can kind of go, wait a second, that's a lot.
Yeah. Can we cut it in half?
Can we cut it in half?
Right.
Understanding this stuff and understanding that if we really want to drive that drive circularity and reduction and reuse and all that, you've got to get everybody working towards that same goal and understanding that they've got a fiscal responsibility.
Well, and that's the place that I find that he comes back to a lot of times is, how do you put a financial incentive in front of somebody that makes it, they go, oh. So to me, I would love it if every property owner, property business had to contract for their own.
Yeah.
Right? Because then it's like, oh, I have to pay for this? Right? And when I study markets where it's a franchise market, or it's you have a number of suppliers, or the city supplies it, there's a difference in behavior and cost structures I see in those different markets, right?
Yeah.
And I think you can imply, based upon what I'm saying, that there's better, more competitive, lower pricing. They still find a way to make money. Those companies are still making money in markets where there's more competition. And that's my 2 cents. And the whole thing is, okay, it's convenient for the government to say, we're going to provide this service, or they're going to provide this service. But to your point of, okay, what's the outcome? Does the outcome really change if no one's tied to the actual cost?
Yeah.
Right? Like, anyway, like I said, we went to breakfast this morning. We both ordered what we thought were reasonable things because, we both are paying for the bill in a sense, right? Well, if someone else is paying, well, maybe you get the nicer sausage or whatever the thing is at lunch, right? You go, oh, they have this, right? Maybe you get the extra glass of wine at dinner.
Yeah.
There's that element that's human nature that I feel gets lost in some of this planning of, if you don't put the bill in someone's hand, they're not really going to care what it costs and how it impacts the bill.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
so true.
So to bring this home in a way, the thing that I'm most interested in life is Pioneer Compact Works. No, I'm just kidding. We're not going to do a pitch. I just was teasing you. What I like to do at the end of these is a little bit of what I call lightning round, where I ask questions that maybe are non-topic, but you have to answer with some amount of brevity.
Okay. That's tough for me.
Yeah, it's okay. We can challenge you. All right. So the first question, I use this a number of times, is the Pope Catholic?
As far as I know.
Okay. Do you know what college you went to?
No clue.
I went to Villanova, where I went.
Oh,
I could bring this up in our podcast.
Okay, I like that. All right.
All right. So the follow-up question: what is the if you had to go back and you have one record, or was it a CD? It would have been a record in the 80s.
I was an early CD adopter as well.
Early CD, okay. If you had one record or CD that you were going to put on one time, like you get invited to whatever the event is, and you get to spin one track. What is it?
One track or the entire CD?
Well, you get one track. Let's be honest. I mean,
oh, that's tough. That's really, really tough.
well, you can pick the CD it's on and then pick the track later.
Yeah, I know. Those are two different things. Oh my goodness. So I'm a bit of a geek, and I guess to keep people happy and they would understand who the artist, Gary Newman's Cars.
Okay.
Would be the song, because it kind of defines a lot of my music.
Answered as a truly successful disc jockey who's picking for the audience to be happy.
Oh no, that's totally different.
But I'm saying, that's you're picking what the audience would want to hear.
Well, I'm doing a little bit with. I'm
that's a good mix.
Yeah,
all right.
That's where I'd have to go.
All right. So then, if you were to pick a public company that you wanted to run, what would it be?
Oh,
jeez.
Public company.
Be a public company.
So if it would be fun, I mean, I think the most fun would be and the problem is radio stations aren't radio stations anymore. Really, they're conglomerates. But if it was to be like a Chorus Entertainment in Canada, right, which is one of those companies that has all the radio stations, that would be fun. If that was,
because that's where you're.
Yeah, it would definitely push.
Trash pays bills, music.
That's right.
Music fills you up.
Yeah.
Oh, I got you.
Concerts, I still love going to concerts and all that stuff. So
yeah, my kids are starting to get into it finally. Concerts.
Okay.
Yes, let's go.
Yeah.
Go. I'm gonna bring my earplugs.
Good idea. Last one I went to, I forgot to bring them. And
a little trick that if you see me do this, if there's ever pink or blue or some earplugs in, it's me chewing gum and putting it in my ears. Gum works.
Okay.
It's weird. People
I'm sure it does. Yes.
especially if you pull it out later and they're like, "What?"
As long as I don't chew it again.
Don't chew it again. Yeah, that's a little gross. But it does in a pinch if you're getting
If you're
deafened.
stuck. Okay.
You can do that.
I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah. So thanks for joining us for today's podcast episode. You can look Gerald up online. He and I occasionally banter in our comments on our various posts, and he will be at our Waste Nexus this fall.
As soon as I'm invited, I'll be there, man.
I know he applied. I got to maybe hit
Yeah.
the button to accept.
I would definitely be there.
And we'll see if we can get you back through the.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so. It should work both ways. Usually, they like to have me come back. Usually, but maybe they'll listen to this and think differently.
Oh no, I think they'll like what they listened to today. But that's this September, and if you want to apply to that online, feel free. I receive all those, and I'm the one who goes through them. And that event is pretty interesting. It's a lot of high-level CEO, business owner type people. We limit it to 30 people so that we have a pretty tight, intimate gathering and a lot of interesting conversations that are much more honest than it sometimes feel people can be at much larger events. So that's pretty unique. That's Waste Nexus, and somewhere on here there'll be a link. Look for it. And thanks very much for joining us. Hopefully Charlie's leading the next one.
Missed you, Charlie. Thanks, Brian.